USPAP, Scope of Work Rule, page 12. For each appraisal and appraisal review assignment, an appraiser must 1. Identify the problem to be solved. 2. Determine and perform the scope of work necessary to develop credible assignment results. And 3. Disclose the scope of work in the report. An appraiser must properly identify the problem to be solved in order to determine the appropriate scope of work. The appraiser must be prepared to demonstrate that the scope of work is sufficient to produce credible assignment results. Comment: Scope of work includes, but is not limited to, the extent to which the property is identified, the extent to which tangible property is inspected, the type and extent of data researched, and the type of and extent of analysis applied to arrive at opinions or conclusions. Appraisers have broad flexibility and significant responsibility in determining the appropriate scope of work for an appraisal or appraisal review assignment. Credible assignment results require support by relevant evidence and logic. The credibility of assignment results is always measured in the context of the intended use. Problem identification. An appraiser must gather and analyze information about those assignment elements that are necessary to properly identify the appraisal or appraisal review problem to be solved. Comment: The assignment elements necessary for problem identification are addressed in the applicable standards rule. For instance, standards rule 1 through 2, standards rule 3 through 2, standards rule 5 through 2, standards rule 7-2, and standards rule 9-2. In an appraisal assignment, for example, identification of the problem to be solved requires the appraiser to identify the following assignment elements: client and any other intended users, intended use of the appraiser's opinions and conclusions, type and definition of value, effective date of the appraiser's opinions and conclusions, subject of the assignment and its relevant characteristics, and assignment conditions. This information provides the appraiser with the basis for determining the type and extent of research and analysis to include in the development of an appraisal. Similar information is necessary for problem identification in appraisal review assignments. Communication with the client is required to establish most of the information necessary for problem identification. However, the identification of relevant characteristics is a judgment made by the appraiser that requires competency in that type of assignment.